You're listening to The Courage to Live, a grief podcast hosted by the Neurology Foundation. Together, we're building a community for parents, caregivers, and all those who walk with the pain of losing a loved one to complex healthcare needs. We invite you to connect with us along your journey. You're not alone, and your child's story continues through you.
Hey friends, welcome to Willow and Wynn's podcast. This is episode 6, and we are going to be talking about love that remains, parenting children after loss. I am so grateful tonight to be welcoming two people who have suffered the same kind of loss that I have suffered with my husband and our family. Parenting after the loss of one of your children is not a club any of us wanted to join, and here we are. And so we're just going to have a conversation about what that looks like for our families and hopefully bring some hope, but just talk about some real stuff. So if at any point you need to pause or step away from this podcast, no worries. We get it. It's going to be here when you come back. So we are thankful that you took the time to watch. All right, friends, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. I've got Naum and Joanne, and then I've also got a handsome guy over there named Phil, who is actually my husband. So I'm really excited that we are all going to get to sit tonight and have this discussion and just connect. I think that's important. So first, I just want to let everyone know that's watching that this conversation today is going to be about sibling loss, sudden grief, and the impossible reality of parenting after losing a child. We are talking specifically about SUDEP, which is Sudden Unexplained Death in Epilepsy, and the impact that it has had on both of our families. To our viewers, we want you to know that you are seen and you are loved, and we're glad that you're here. This episode contains discussions of child loss and trauma, but it also deeply is about love, memory, resilience, and the children who continue to shape our families every day. So, Naum and Joanne, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Joanne, and I'm the mother of 3 beautiful boys. I guess I'll get into that after Dad introduces himself.
Hi, I'm Dad, Naum. I am the proud father of 3 beautiful boys and 2 beautiful cats that you'll probably see at some point during this podcast.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they're joining us in the background. It's going to be fun. My name is Courtney Collins, and that's my husband, Phil Collins. I'll let him introduce himself as well, even though I kind of just did it. But
yeah, you did a great job. You've already
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I belong to Courtney Collins there, and we have 4 children, 3 daughters, Lila 15, Violet 13, Evelyn 10, and our sweet boy Lucas, who passed away in February of 2025, was our youngest child and is our youngest child.
Yeah. Yep, and we have that in common with you guys, right? Your loss, your sudden loss from SUDEP was your middle son?
Yes, our middle son Mark was 10 and a half years old, and this happened in April of 2024, so a little bit over 2 years ago. At the time, my oldest was 12 and my youngest was 7 and a half. And right now, they're 14 and 9 and a half.
I'm glad that we get to talk about the yucky stuff tonight, because as much as I hate it, I'm really grateful that there are other people like us out there.
Agreed.
Okay, so tell me about Mark. What was he like?
So, he's the best middle child ever. He really was the glue of the family and the comedian, and just brought so much joy and laughter, and really adaptable. He was able to play and make my oldest laugh and my youngest as well. But my oldest and my youngest kind of were disconnected a little bit, so Mark was a fantastic bridge, and they played so well together. Really creative, really smart, loved everything, never complained ever. In fact, he would be too sick to go to school and try to hide it from me because he really loved school and going, and I had to kind of give him the mom stare, like, you don't look right to me. Are you sure you're feeling okay? Yeah, I'm great. No, you're not. You're staying home. And just just a wonderful child. I mean, so happy. I can't say enough wonderful things about him. And he drove us crazy too.
Sure.
He wasn't that bad.
He's a 10-year-old boy. And was kind of a daredevil, and didn't want to stand still. but just a joy, really.
Yeah, I think for me, he was just this happy kid, always smiling, would light up the room, had this sort of positive energy. You knew that he was in the room before you actually knew he was in the room. Really just kind of made a really positive impact everywhere he went, and we really miss the positive energy and his smiles, and he just sort of, in some ways he was really calming, I should say, on our family, even though he was
High
energy. He had a calming effect in a way. I really missed that.
I love that. Oh, I love that. I bet you do miss that. We have similar experience. Phil, do you agree? It was kind of the same way.
I mean, Lucas was our safe place coming home at the end of the day. There was nothing better than just sitting there on the couch with him. And he had autism, and so he very much had his spot, and he wanted you to snuggle with him, and he wanted to be close to you and be touching you. And so, to me, losing that just sitting and being and not feeling like I got to rush and do all these things, I mean, yeah, I think he was that for all of us. For our youngest daughter, Evelyn, especially, they were so close in age, just 2 years apart, and they were little snuggle buddies all the time. We have so many pictures of them just chilling with each other on the couch and enjoying each other's company. There was so much communication that Lucas could do with less words. And one of those was just letting you know when you're close to Lucas, like he sees you, he's happy you're there. And like you said, how Mark was the glue of your family, like Lucas was that. He calmed us down from the busyness of life, which was such a gift.
Yeah, agreed. We missed that too. I think losing Lucas, as I'm sure losing Mark for you guys, it shifted everything. But there's this giant piece of our family that's missing, and nothing's gonna fill that space. Like it's impossible, and that's really hard to come to terms with, just as a human being, and then also as a parent. I'm so sorry for y'all's loss, and I hate that we know this kind of grief. But with Mark, it was SUDEP. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so was epilepsy a part of y'all's story with him?
No.
Okay, tell us about that.
So his first known seizure was 12 days before he passed from SUDEP. And my husband is an anesthesiologist, and he's vice chair at his hospital in New York City. I'm also a physician assistant. I was not working I was working at a different hospital, and with so many phone calls after the first seizure, which we only knew about because he fell out of bed and I heard a huge bang. He didn't wake up, but I woke up and ran and saw the seizure for literally all of 2 seconds, because once I dove like I was, diving for first base, or, a baseball dive. I dove to grab him, and as soon as I did it completely stopped, and the room was pitch black. So I honestly didn't even see him have a seizure really, even though he did. I knew what it was, and then my husband made a whole bunch of phone calls the next day. We went to the ER and, got a CAT scan. I was so happy that he didn't have a brain tumor, because that was the first thing that came to my mind, that this is the worst thing that could possibly happen is they find a brain tumor. All the tests came back normal, told us to go follow up with a neurologist
in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, and he's like, I'm not waiting 2 weeks.
The next day I called everybody I know in life, and we were able to see a pediatric epileptologist the following Monday. So
so y'all got to go to an epileptologist pretty quickly.
Yes. So that's one of the benefits of being a doctor. You could call everybody. I called everybody I knew, and we were able to get in right away. And so we arrived that day. We had the EEG, and we saw the specialist, and we were told great news. He has benign atlantic epilepsy. It's a benign condition. It goes away by itself. We don't treat with medications after the first visit. Let's just see how it goes. We asked, well, what should we do? Should we get monitors? Should we, she says, no, you don't need any specialized monitors. They haven't been proven to really make a difference and have false alarms. You can just get a regular baby monitor. Even that's probably, too much. And just go live your life, And this was right before spring break. I said, should we cancel our vacation? She said, no, why would you do that? Go on vacation, have fun. And if you're going to go in the water, maybe you should get a life vest that sort of preferentially puts you on your back. And so we got that, and you should get some guardrails so he doesn't fall out of bed if he has another seizure, and just get a regular baby monitor and see how it goes. And we really didn't even make a follow-up visit. It was like, if he has another seizure, call me, or just see how it goes. And we talked about getting a video EEG, like a at-home video ambulatory EEG for a few days to get more information. And we're kind of told, at your leisure, if you want at some point in the future, we could do it. We're like, we want it today, And so started calling the office, started calling the insurance company to get that approved. And so, Joanne was sleeping with Mark every day on the couch for
the 10 days.
For the 10 days, and then finally we got approved for the video EEG, and Joanne went with Mark to the place, the third-party place, to get the lead's place, and he came home with all the wires and the computer, and the doctor and the people at the EEG place said, to replicate usual nighttime routine as much as possible. Same place, same bedtime, same lighting, really tried to replicate a usual night routine. And Joanne wanted to sleep with Mark again that night. And I was like, no, everybody said we want to try to, the whole point of this test is to see what brain waves are like during a typical night's sleep under the most standardized conditions possible, to get that information. And reluctantly, Joanne, we put him to bed, we set up the baby monitor and put it on full volume next to us, and went to sleep. And the next day we found him dead. And got in touch with the doctor and said, what happened? And she said, SUDEP. And we're like, what's that? And we had absolutely no idea about it, despite the fact that we're both medical professionals, despite the fact that our state has a law mandating disclosure of SUDEP at the time of diagnosis. None of that ensured that we had the information we needed to try to save our child. And he was monitored. But the device is a recording device, not a alarming device. Supposedly the company was supposed to check out every 2 hours, look at it, but it didn't. We really had no idea until we found him. And we And so we found him, just a kind of regular morning, got up, fed the other kids. Mark was sleeping in, or so we thought, even though that's not something he ever did before, but maybe he had a kind of a rough night with the leads on and stuff, and then we found him.
Yeah, our kids, Mark was going to stay home from school that day, and then the other two kids would always leave before Mark anyway, even...
That's how the buses lined up.
That's how the buses were lined up.
Mark's bus was last.
And so they left, and then after the kids left, I had to go to work, and I said, you know what, I am not going to go to work without checking on my baby. And
we walked in together.
Yeah, we walked in together.
And then we found him, and we knew there was nothing we could do. We started CPR anyway because I had to do something. And and then EMS arrived, and they called off the rest of the EMS because they also knew. And then eventually, the police showed up, and the child
protection
police
services
and
detectives
came, and you guys probably know this horrible experience where there's been a million people in your house taking pictures and doing I don't know what with our child while we're sitting downstairs answering all of these questions, some of which are pretty intrusive and seemingly inappropriate. Because he had all the leads on him at the time still, our story...
They were actually pretty kind.
They
were pretty kind and easy on us, to be quite honest.
We've heard from other people that time period is really pretty awful. I mean, it was still awful, but not because the police and the detectives made it awful. They actually were pretty kind and accommodating, and they, heard our story, and we told them what the neurologist said, and eventually we did get in touch with the EEG company, and then, I don't know, that's when the roller coaster kind of began.
So that's a really long answer to your question about...
It's a beautiful answer. It's a beautiful answer.
We were only parents of a child with epilepsy for 12 days, and I never actually saw Mark have a seizure, and yet he died of SUDEP. And we only know that because we have video footage, EEG footage, and EKG footage of him passing because he had the at-home test on him.
Okay, I was going to ask you, so number one, similar to us, we had never heard of SUDEP before Lucas passed away, didn't even know it was a thing, and then it wasn't until, oh my gosh, 9 to 10 months later when someone said it while we were sitting having a conversation very similar to this about their child dying of SUDEP and what that looked like, and Phil and I were like, oh my gosh, I think it has a name. Oh my gosh.
We found out very shortly afterward because we got in touch with the doctor.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, they would have chalked it up to something else if the evidence wasn't blaring in their face. I really believe that.
So what did the EEG say? What did y'all see on the? Can I ask what it looked like?
He
had a focal seizure.
He had a focal seizure first, and then went away, and then he had another seizure shortly afterwards, and it was a tonic-clonic seizure. And the seizure, the electrical seizure on the waves was roughly 2 minutes, but the physical seizure was only 30 seconds, and it was very subtle actually. It wasn't loud, it wasn't particularly violent. It made actually very little noise, and then he went directly into asystole, so his heart stopped. And he actually recovered from that, and his heart function restarted, but his breathing was never really normal after that. But it took him about 30 minutes to die after the seizure was over. So, we believe that if we were there and identified it right away, put him on his side, stimulated him, probably would have saved him.
We also have equipment in our home. He's an anesthesiologist.
So, because we have a pool and an anesthesiologist, I do have intervening equipment in my house. So we could actually almost run a code in our house if we had to, if I knew this was a thing, And if we caught the seizure right away, caught the fact that he was having some heart or lung dysfunction right away, and began intervention. And I think that, people just don't know that this could happen, and that really, fast intervention probably is life-saving for most people. Unfortunately, people just don't know. And even if they're there, they don't realize that they have to act fast and really look for, high quality breathing and making sure the kid has a pulse. How long would it take you to start, CPR? And of course, do you know CPR? So, there's many. I know the point of this conversation is not to really talk about what we could have done to save Mark, but I do believe that most people, children and adults, could be saved if the family's prepared, has high quality monitoring, and acts really fast.
And this is coming from someone who specializes in resuscitating people.
Right.
But we had no idea until it was too late, and really, nobody we knew. You can imagine we're both medical people, so all of our friends are medical people, and nobody heard of this. And we're like, how come nobody knows? How is it possible that nobody knows? So I actually drove to the local medical bookstore and took out the 2024 version of the books I used when I was in medical school 20 years ago, and it wasn't in there. And I'm like, how is this not in the books that medical students are using? How is it a secret medicine? And then the kids came home later that day. Sam, age 12 at the time, and Evan.
He was in the 7th grade, and Evan was in the 2nd grade, and they were coming home from school. By then, everyone left, including Mark.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I even begin this? I don't even know. How am I going to do this?
So, I actually have some training in palliative medicine, and, what they say is to tell the kids that, that the person died, to use the word died, not, use other phrases that passed away or went to heaven or whatever, really just say this is what happened. So we sat them down, and one at a time, and we said we have some really bad news. Mark died. And they both start laughing.
Because they thought we were kidding.
They both start laughing because they're like, to them it was crazy. And
because it is.
And we're like, because it is. And we're like, no, he died. And just this like shock set into the whole family.
Honestly, I don't, even the funeral, and we had, open casket, 2 days of wake, and that wasn't, it didn't dawn on them. Certainly my oldest didn't, the grief did not set in until about the middle of the 8th grade. So I would say 8 months to 9 months later is when the grief hit him, and it hit him hard.
Yeah.
My little one, he's grieving, but it's just so different because his maturity is just not that of, it's amazing. They're only 4.5 years apart, my youngest and my oldest, and
makes a big difference.
It makes a huge
difference.
And he's okay. I'm waiting for the hormones and the brain development to hit him, and then I'm going to be going through the same thing. Everyone's different. His personality is different than my oldest son, and he's he's been living with the grief, or with Mark not being around now for 5 years versus my oldest 9 months by the time he turns 13. But I suspect he's gonna mature, his brain's gonna mature, and it's gonna hit him, and at least I'll be ready by then to deal with it in a hopefully better way than with my eldest, because I was confused as to, like, why aren't they devastated? I wasn't getting it. And then it made me angry. It made me so angry that he was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, so he's not here, so if he were to hear me, he would yell at me right now, because one of the first questions, I think it was the day later or 2 days later, was, oh, so what are you doing with Mark's college fund?
Yeah.
And, and, you know, I honestly, I know I'm on the air here and all, but really,
It's good. It's
I
a good
wanted
space.
to choke him. I wanted to choke him.
I get that.
Yep.
Yep.
And now I wouldn't dare remind him of that, because he's like, I don't even want to go to college. What's the point of college? My life is over. My brother's not here. You know, he went from that,
Yeah,
to a whole different extreme. And you know, that in of itself, you're dealing with your own grief, which is hell, and now you're dealing with theirs, and you have to navigate theirs, and it's just beyond difficult. I don't have to tell you guys.
Well, I want to say thank y'all so much for sharing your story the way that you did. I feel like, I mean, it highly resonates with us, because it was the same thing. We woke up, thought Lucas was sleeping in. I eventually go in to check on him, and he's laying there, and I always did the thing where it's like, hey, buddy. And you're just like, yeah, he's, I mean, sorry to be blunt, but he's dead. Like, your brain, but when your brain triggers and you go into that shock, and maybe you did. I have never been in actual shock before, like of like my body just, like my stomach dropped, lost all control of the way I could breathe. Like, it was the worst feeling, because your brain goes in that fight or flight mode, and y'all are doctors, so you know about this. Like, whatever that medical reasoning is, that your body is able to chemically just snap immediately because of something that you just never could have imagined actually happening. That was the most jarring thing to me in the moment. But I appreciate y'all sharing that, because that's so hard to relive over and over again. So thank you. And then I want to, as we got to talking more, or as you got to talking more about your kids and how they're reacting, you know, to the loss. I haven't even told Courtney this, but about 2 weeks or a week ago, I brought my 10-year-old daughter with me to work. And so we're on the way to work, and we're laughing, and we're being silly. And I played a song for her that I had used like an AI app to make it wasn't sad, like super sad, but it also wasn't the most happy thing in the world. And anyways, she could tell that I had written it about Lucas, and she starts bawling. And I haven't seen her cry about her brother hardly at all. And all of a sudden my heart dropped, and I was like, oh no. Like, I thought she was almost, because she's put on such a brave face, I thought she was not ever going to not be sad, but like she doesn't show it. And anyways, I turned that song off immediately. I apologized to her, and we were back to being silly 5 minutes later. But it was just interesting to see our kids are all handling it so differently. Whether it's choosing a distraction, whether that's sports, video games, their phone, whatever. We as humans all run to different things, but like sometimes with these kids, it's almost like they have to just bury it so deep and hide it, because it is so painful, and they don't know how to vocalize that.
I think I'm learning, because Joanne, I'm so glad that you said eventually your youngest, their brain will develop to a space where they can grieve. And that makes sense to me. And I hadn't thought about it that way. And so when we're talking about Evelyn, our 10-year-old, who was newly 9 when her brother passed away, she's the kind of person, just in general, she's sunshine. She's just always sunshine. And she doesn't want people to hurt, and she doesn't want people to feel badly. And that includes herself and her people. And so I remember sort of the aftermath, because unfortunately, my girls,
It was a Sunday, so we were all home.
And they watched us my middle daughter actually helped me do CPR on Lucas. And they stood in the hall screaming bloody murder. And they were there when all the police came and the investigators and it was absolute traumatic chaos. And they have all dealt with it so differently. But I do agree that I think when Evelyn gets a little bit older too, things like what happened in the car, Phil, I think that's going to be like, she's going to hit a space where she's going to need to finally grieve that. And we can't rush that either. And I wonder about it for my other girls, because my oldest was like his mommy, like his second mommy. And she has grieved deeply and openly, and she's my feeler. And so her grief makes sense to me, but little things trigger, hormones trigger. Just she's a 15-year-old girl, and life is already hard, and her brother's not coming back. And so it's hard. And then my middle one, who was obsessed with Lucas, like deeply obsessed with her little brother. It's hit or miss, and we still haven't really, I mean, we're 15, almost 16 months out of Lucas dying, and I don't know that she's even really grieved yet. And so I think for people that are watching, I think I love the idea of giving permission, because I love receiving permission from people who have gone before me to say, we don't know either. Like, it doesn't make sense to us either. We're still figuring it out. Yes, it's hard, but yes, you can do it, and you're not alone when you're going through it. I think I think those are I think those are really important things to say and to hear. What is y'all's language like when you discuss Mark in your home? Because I'm assuming y'all still talk about it. We love to talk about Lucas. Do y'all love to talk about Mark at your
Yes,
house?
we talk about Mark all the time, nonstop. And even if something's funny, I would say, "Oh my gosh, I could just picture Mark laughing." I could just hear his voice. Do you hear his voice? And my youngest actually hears Mark's voice all the time. My oldest says he doesn't, and then he starts grieving that, and it's like there's no right or wrong way.
Right.
But I'm doing it for Mark. I feel he deserves to be spoken about. He deserves to be remembered. He deserves to be in that moment if we're experiencing something funny or silly, or I don't know about joy. We're not. I'm not there yet, but or if something terrible happened, like and terrible. One day I remember we were driving in the car, the five of us, and they chopped down like a forest, like a whole bunch of trees, and Mark was so upset because he loves nature and just absolutely is my nature boy, and just he didn't want video games. He wanted to go play outside, and so we would pass by this area all the time, and now it was gone all of a sudden. Like, they chopped it down overnight, and he was so upset. And so today, actually, with my oldest, we were driving down a different road, and they chopped new forests down. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, that's so sad. Like, Mark would be really upset if he was in the car watching this." And I want them to do that. I want to normalize thinking of Mark all the time. I want Mark to be a part of when they have families one day. I want their kids to know their Uncle Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, we were, so my oldest is 15 and learning to drive. Yikes.
Scary.
She's actually doing great. Praise the Lord. But we went it was about 45 minutes. It was just she and I in the car the other day. I think it was this past week. And the entire time in the car, we only spoke in Lucas-isms, which nobody outside of our family, like people outside of our family, they get a few of them and they think it's cute or whatever. But to us, it's like a whole language. and it is important, and it makes complete sense to us because we knew how Lucas spoke, and it was so fun. I felt like Lucas was in that car with us, and it makes me emotional because she just got her permit today, and she was like, Mom, Lucas would have loved Lala having her own car. And I was like, he absolutely would have. He would have grabbed your keys and said, come on, Mama, let's go Lala's car. And so it's just, I love and appreciate also that you spoke of Mark in the present tense, because I think that sometimes it happens, sometimes it comes out in the past tense, and when I'm speaking, and I'll be like, ugh, I don't like that. But it is logical, and maybe in certain circumstances that makes more sense. I don't know. But for us, like, I talk to Lucas in our home like he's here. And so, and I don't think that's wrong either. And so I love that you were like, when you were talking about him in the present tense. And I love that.
Go ahead.
I really struggle with that initially, because it's not actually here, and I was worried that it might send a message to the kids that might be confusing. And so every single time she would refer to Mark in the present tense, and hey Mark, hey boys, it's dinner time, Mark, come down. And I'm like, it's not actually coming down. And I felt really uncomfortable with that initially. Now it's become much more normal for me and for all of us, but initially I didn't like it. For the reasons I mentioned, and so I don't know, I think people should do what they feel comfortable with, and I think that does evolve over time.
I was just going to say, like, the way that things have evolved for us is others in the family it's way easier for them to watch videos of Lucas. I can watch ones that I'm very familiar with, but even with those ones, I get sick to my stomach. I'm in my office right now, and I have a bunch of pictures in here of Lucas and with his mom and with some other friends and stuff, and I see those all the time, and so it's a little bit more normal for my brain to not just go into a dark place. But videos and hearing his voice absolutely crushes me, and this might sound weird to people, but it actually terrifies me. It sends my brain into a place of fight or flight where I'm like, no, that's like, he's gone. Like, how am I hearing his voice? Which doesn't exist for people that I know are here and alive. Like, they're not with me, but I know they're alive, so I can watch videos and stuff. But for some reason, when I hear Lucas's voice, it takes me to a place that I don't like right now. And maybe one day that'll change for me, because I want to watch him. I want to hear him laugh and stuff. But it just, gosh, it makes the pain so real.
Yeah, and I also struggle with videos. Pictures don't really bother me. I like looking at them, actually. But videos I struggle with. I also struggle with true, candid pictures. Mark was such a good poser. He was a beautiful smile. He loved the camera. Camera loved him. He was photogenic. He was always, you guys have many kids, when you try to get them to all look in the same direction and smile at the same time. Almost impossible. Mark was always the one staring at the camera smiling. So every picture, I wouldn't say was like he prepared for, but he did. He was looking at the camera smiling. So the pictures where he's sort of doing something fun and smiling without knowing I'm taking the picture, every time I see those, I just start crying. Even now, 2 years later, just every time I see that, I love the picture, but it's so real. It's as if he was there doing that fun activity with a fully natural smile, not knowing he's being photographed.
Yeah,
those are hard.
I want to ask, we've talked about how it has been being a parent to children that are still alive and with us, which is, well, the worst and also beautiful. And those two things coexist at the same time makes no sense. What about parenting children, grieving your loss, and being married and living in the same house? What has that been like for you guys?
We grieve so completely differently. It's been really difficult because I kind of lost my mind. I honestly, I didn't go back to work because I don't have to get into too much detail. Like, medicine completely failed us in every way possible. The last thing I want to see is a doctor, even though I'm married to one, but he's not allowed to wear doctor clothes in front of me. I don't want to be around them. I don't trust them, and I really am not in a good place as a human being, as a parent, as a wife, as Joanne. You know, I don't recognize her anymore. I don't know who she is. So he sees that, and he doesn't know what to do. He can't fix anything. And so he buries himself in work, and that's kind of how he's dealing with it, with the grief. And I gave up for a long time, until my oldest started heavily grieving. That woke me up a little bit. You know, that got me back into, this kid is drowning. I'm his mom, and I'm the only one who can save him, right? Because I'm the mom. So that kind of got me out of it, and I'm a mom again, because there were a few months, it was a long time, where I just put food out like they're pets.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I would put food out and then walk out and be in the next room hearing to see if anyone's choking or not. And that was the extent of my parenting. Like, it was awful. I didn't speak to them. I don't even know if I looked at them, and they didn't deserve that. But at the same time, I was just traumatized. I was just completely traumatized. So I do give myself grace for that. And
good. I was going to ask, please
yes.
Make sure, because I feel you. I completely understand. Everything you're saying makes complete sense to me. So I'm really grateful that you've shared and that you're giving yourself grace.
You know, I'm giving myself grace, and then as soon as I heard him say certain things, I'm like, no, this kid's not doing well. I need to, like, dig myself out of this hole enough, at the very least, to support him. And that's basically what I do at this point. Is I'm here to keep Mark's memory alive within our family, because we need that. We need that, all of us. We can't go through the rest of our existence without Mark there. So we need his presence. Yeah. And I am trying to cultivate his presence into everything that we do. And, you know, I'm hoping when they're older and they're doing their own thing, as they should, that Mark is still a part of them. And that's my job, is to be a mom of 3 boys. I'm going to be a mom of 3 boys. It doesn't matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do it.
I love that.
I appreciate how honest you were there. That showed a lot of courage and vulnerability to be able to share what you did.
It's not easy.
That's the reason that we wanted to do this podcast in the first place, is to let people know that there are real people out there. We're not robots. We're like,
right.
It's raw. We've gone through some super traumatic things, and we've had moments, and we'll continue to have moments where we're not okay, and where we just existing and doing the next right thing is what we kind of say around our house. What's the next right thing? Is it eating a snack? Is it, picking
brushing your teeth, taking a shower? Sometimes that's all you can do, and that's okay. Yeah. So for you guys, I'm hopeful, because we have some funny ones, but I'm kind of hopeful that y'all can tell us some really, I'm going to be careful what word I choose, some really interesting things that people have said to you in your grieving that you're like, you have got to be kidding me. Yeah. Do you have any of those?
I mean, there's so many.
I know. I honestly, I tried to throw them in the wasteland of my brain, which is huge now.
I think whenever people point out we have other kids, well, you still have other kids. And I'm like, okay, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
That I think that for me that's probably the worst thing people say, because it's like, well, just have three. It's not he didn't exist. He existed and he still exists in our lives every day.
Yes.
And that's pretty bad.
Yes.
The human nature of needing to compare our scars and our things that we've gone through is unfortunately just an uncomfortable coping mechanism that people use because they don't know what else to say. And so they kind of say the first thing that pops into their brain, or, you know. So when we were at the DMV today for the second time, we had to go back, whatever. So we had about a 65-year-old guy that was helping us that worked there at the DMV, and he says, "Is this your only daughter?" I say, "No, I've got 3 daughters, 3 beautiful girls." He goes, "Oh, that's awesome. Do you have a son?" I said, "Actually, I do, but he passed away a year and a half ago. Thank you for asking." And I just move on with the conversation, unless somebody wants to keep talking about it, and I will.
I love that we can sit and do this, where we can share in these commonalities that to us we can laugh. I don't know that it's necessarily funny to everyone, right? But this is a group we didn't want to join, and there's still laughter here. Like, even when it feels yucky and messy. And I think too, there's 2 sides to everything. It's all these dimensions, and I know that people aren't trying to be ugly when they are sharing or saying or trying to relate. I try to remember in my head, because sometimes I don't reply the way that I know I should. Most of the time I do okay, but in my head I remind myself, I am so thankful that you have no idea how what you just said affected me. Because if you did, that would mean you would understand this trauma. It would mean that you understand this grief. And I don't really want anybody else to have to join this club, because it's not fun, and I don't like it. And so I try to remember that. I try to put, some kind of positive, like, oh, that's cute. But I do sometimes write them down, and I like text them to Phil or some of my girlfriends, and I'm like, you guys are not going to believe this. And so maybe one day we should just all get together and come up with a book of like, hey, don't say this stuff.
Don't say he's in a better place.
Oh yeah.
The best place is mom and dad. That's the only best place for our kid.
Oh my God.
That's right. We want them here. Yep, I agree. So what does support look like for you guys as a family? I know that people loved Mark. I guarantee people loved Mark. We know that people love Lucas. And you're still having to do life in whatever capacity that looks like, in whatever season that you guys are in. So what does support look like for y'all? Or what would you want people to know that they can do to support people that are grieving?
As I had said about my boys and leaving food out and making sure they're not choking, and that was the extent of my parenting, I was so grateful that the community had set up a meal train for 3 months. It was
a tremendous
oh my
amount of
gosh.
food. Tremendous.
3 months.
We almost had to buy another freezer for a long
Yeah, and plus Mark is a huge foodie, so he's not eating it. I lost 50 pounds in 4 months, so I wasn't eating anything. He also wasn't eating, so we really had so much food because there was only 2 kids that were really eating it, and we had a meal train for such a long time, and the food must have lasted 4 or 5 months, and that was amazing. And they didn't even make it my problem to decide what food to order. They did it for me. Oh, it looks like we're having Greek tonight. Oh, it looks like we're having Chinese food. Great, And there were some people I declined, but they really meant it. Some people from the community that said, "Can I come over and do your laundry?" Or and this poor woman was like, "I'll do anything. I'll wash your toilets." I'm like, we're okay.
Yeah.
we're okay. But to actually not say, what can I do? Just give the person ideas of what you can do. Because at that point, breathing is hard.
Right.
Breathing is hard. Like, let alone delegating tasks to people. Just, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful, and just listening and not being scared when I say things like, I really don't know how I could live.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing for anyone to listen to. It's scary. You're like, oh my God, should I call, the police? Should I call the insane asylum? And I understand that that's really hard to hear, but it would be nice to just have someone to hear it and hold me.
I agree. I've scared a lot of people. I can get really dark, and people are like, Courtney, you okay? I'm like, just let me be. Just let me be. It's okay. That's right. I think for us too, like I love the way that when, like Phil said at the beginning, I'm like stuttering through my words. When Lucas, and y'all said it too, when Lucas or Mark walked into a room, like they owned that room with their, just who they were. And so I know that Lucas touched more people than Phil and I are even aware of, and that he made their lives brighter. And so one of my favorite things is when someone, and it's my favorite, when it's in a regular conversation and someone brings him up or like says his name or like remembers something about him and is like, oh my gosh, and Lucas, this one time, like my heart just, I'm like, yes, like he's still here, like he's still impacting people, he's on people's minds. And I think one of the biggest fears for parents, from what I've understood and what is one of mine, is that my kid's gonna be forgotten. Like, I don't want Lucas to ever be forgotten. And I think about him every single day, every moment of every day.
Correct.
And I don't necessarily think that anybody else does besides our family, but I love that he's still crossing people's minds, and that they see Bluey and they're like, oh, Lucas, it just those sweet things that means that our children, they matter. And I'm really grateful that we got to do this tonight, truly. And I think I want people out there to remember to say their kids' names. It's okay to say your kid's name. Don't be afraid. If it makes other people uncomfortable, that's okay. Your child matters. They still matter. They will always matter. And they're going to remain a part of your family. And just like Mark is now going to pop up in my brain when I think of certain things. And I'm so grateful I got to know part of his story and know you guys, because that grows his community. And y'all now know about Lucas. And I love that we have the opportunity to do stuff like this. We are honored that you guys came on today, truly.
Well, Naum and Joanne, thank you so much for being on here with us tonight. Courtney, thank you for hosting us and for leading the conversation. Knowing who Mark was and what he meant to you and your family has been a blessing to hear you guys talk about him tonight. I've seen you guys get emotional, but also smile a lot. You've smiled a lot, and that has encouraged me, and I hope that it's encouraged other people that are watching this, just to know that, even through hard conversations like this, we can still be encouraged, we can still laugh, we can still smile, and know that our children's lives matter. So thank you so much. And we appreciate you all for joining us today on the Willow and Win podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for The Courage to Live, a grief podcast hosted by the Child Neurology Foundation, sponsored by BioCodex. Together, we're building a community for parents, caregivers, and all those who walk with the pain of losing a loved one to complex healthcare needs. We invite you to connect with us along your journey. You're not alone, and your child's story continues through you. More information available at childneurologyfoundation.org.